Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of Diary of a Sales Engineer. Today's episode is titled Oh. We'll be discussing out of office. I'm Ryan Kruger with my co host.
Samir Koster, and we are stoked to be back. It's been some time. We thought it was appropriate to talk about OOO, out of office, and PTO, especially because both of us just got back from a much needed break. Ryan, I know you were out of the country. Where'd you go? What'd you do?
Yeah, I was in Cabo, Mexico, took some much needed time off, and, happy to get into my time off. But Samir, you've had a big life update that I think needs to take precedence. So we can't start with me. We got to start with you. Give us the life update.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I got married. It's going to be 3 weeks now. We did a really fun kind of not traditional Indian wedding, but traditional in the sense of we did all of the various events. So it started off on Wednesday and went all the way up to Sunday. We had over 100 people from across the world actually come through. We did it here in Toledo. It was a lot of fun, a lot of different activities. We On Wednesday we had our bridal shower, so all the ladies of the family got together at our house. I took all the gents. We went to the local shooting range and we went shooting. I took my father-in-law shooting for the first time, so it was fun. We shot a Glock 19 and then a Scar, which was a crazy gun to shoot. So if you're ever in a shooting range, I'd recommend that. And then Thursday we had our Huldi event, which pretty much is a time where they rub turmeric all over you, and it's yellow. It was outside, and that's kind of the kickoff where all of our close friends and family came. Then Thursday evening we had our Mendi event, which is where henna is done. So my wife got all decked out. Her hands were fully up to her elbows, and then she got henna up to her shins, mid shins. And the cool thing with the Mendi is the Mendi artist. Well, two cool things. One is it was a mother daughter duo, so there was two Mendi artists working on both of her hands at the same time, and they each did like sections of her hand. So like the daughter did this section on both hands, and then they would like switch. So it was the same artist doing the same section on the hands, and it was actually the cool thing to see. Our wedding planner was like, "Oh, that's never happened before. I've never seen two artists working at the same time." I have a pretty cool what's it called, time lapse video of it. And I told the wife, I was like, I'm about to make some content off of this, so I hope you don't worry. So stay tuned for that. And then Friday we had our Sangeet with we got like the one rooftop bar in Toledo, which was really cool. And the Sangeet is like it's kind of like your rehearsal dinner where it's just a big party. We got all our friends to do some choreographed dances. For those of you who don't know, both my wife and I danced in college. I professionally danced for a bit after college, and so Sangeet was the time for us to show that off a little bit and then just have a good time with all of our friends. And then Saturday was the actual ceremony. So I'm half Muslim, half Hindu, so we did and she's fully Hindu, so we did a Hindu ceremony and a Muslim ceremony. And the fun thing about that is before the ceremonies, there's something called the Barat, which is pretty much the groom's processional, and it's pretty much my side, everyone hyping me up, big party. I came in on a horse. We like shut down one of the lanes in the street and just had uh, a truck with big speakers in the back and just dancing in the street as we came up to do our ceremonies. And then after the ceremonies, we had our reception and ended up literally throwing an after party in the hotel lobby. And it was just overall a great weekend. And Sunday we had the final kind of just the family of like gift exchange and whatnot. But man, so much fun. Only
and
downside.
two questions for you. Two
Yeah.
questions right away. Number one, how long did it take you to find your name in the Mendy that was done?
Oh, a while. It was like
Yeah, for those that don't know, when Samir was describing the Mendy that's performed on the arms, the artist will actually hide Samir's name throughout the Mendy. So like an S will be hidden
yeah.
somewhere within the design, A, so forth, so forth. So it takes a little while to actually locate all the letters. So you have to put a over under 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, how long?
Ooh. So it wasn't. It happened in chunks. Like I found. So my name is 6 letters. I found four of them pretty easily. the S was very elusive, and the R was really difficult. So like the first and the last letters,
Mm.
uh, I'd probably give it around like 30, 40 minutes, like overall time of the different chunks in which I was looking for letters. Um, but they did a really good job of hiding it and putting it in a way. And one of the men, the artist, is like, "You're not gonna. It's gonna be almost impossible for you to find the R." Like,
Okay, all right. I like that. Second question, what was your favorite part or your favorite ceremony as a part of the, multiple days?
ooh, that's a tough one to pick a favorite. But I mean, I think the Hindu ceremony has, for those of you who haven't been to an Indian wedding, they have a lot of different pieces in it. So that ceremony in itself, we had a short one, still
Yeah,
an
define
hour
short.
long.
Yeah.
Uh, so some of our family members in India will go for like 8 hours. So when I say a short one, it's like is relatively short. But I think that during that one, there's a part where um, her father's and mom is holding Smitha's hand, and they are physically like handing her hand to me in showing that now you are we are trusting you in that you will take care of her. Like physically they're like handing their daughter away to me, but she's not someone to be handed over. But it was just like that aspect, like me and her dad were just like looking at each other in the eyes, and I could see that he is like just putting his trust in me. And I think that was probably one of the, I guess, the most like sentimental parts. Or like people always ask, oh, does it feel different after you get married? And sometimes it's like, well, not really. We've been living together for a long time, like we've already started making a life together. But I think just doing it in front of family, it does feel different. Like I do feel like we are more connected, both like spiritually, emotionally. We're not super religious, but even religiously. So that's probably one that's like sticking out to me right now. Just that moment.
Good answer. Good answer. I remember when my wife asked me the day after we got married, she's like, "Do you feel different?" I was like, "No, everything's the same." She was like, "Bad answer."
Bad answer.
So if you're listening, pro tip, say, yeah, definitely say, yeah, everything's changed for me. But no, that's good. I mean, and I know as a part of this, you took a couple of days off of work too, obviously for the ceremonies, but then even the following week, you'd built in a couple of days off from work. You're now getting back into the swing of things from work. How's that going? How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome that my work allowed me to take 2 weeks off. Because we had pre-events, and then I was like, we want some time just away from the family, just for us to have with each other. So it was really great that they literally were like, get off Slack, delete it. The week of our wedding, they sent like us a bottle of champagne, and so they like really encouraged me to fully disconnect from work and not worry about things, which was awesome. And then coming back, it always takes a second, especially like I feel like the the longer you're out, the longer it takes back to just like find your rhythm again. And after the wedding, we had also both caught COVID, so like we were just like super sick, and our sleep schedule just got all out of whack. So the first week I got back, the first few days I was like, all right, like I felt like I was kind of dusting off the cobwebs and trying to get the machine restarted and re-going. And then the second week I started making some more moves, and this is the third week now, and I'm like fully back. I was like stoked to get back, just like very excited to finish off the year and crush it, and have some exciting deals in the pipe that are looking promising. Not trying to get happy years, but we're getting excited, and there's like there's a path to a contract. So it's nice to come back, and I mean, as we both know, startup life is chaotic, to say the least, but it's fun. It's very rewarding, and I'm like really happy to come back. I think the time off was good. It was like a disconnect, kind of reset and focus like on bigger picture life stuff. But towards the end of like being off, I was itching to get back. I was like, I'm ready. I'm kind of ready to jump back into it. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling excited, especially because while I was away, there was like a couple big deals like closed, and I like see the Slack notification. I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's
I thought you
go.
deleted Slack. Hold on, wait a
Well,
second. You're supposed to
I
delete
got
the
it back. I
Slack.
got it back the week after the wedding to like slowly ease
Uh,
myself in there. But I think one of the cool things actually was during the wedding is we both of us didn't have our phones. Like our phones we gave to our wedding coordinator, and so like for 3 days I just like didn't have my phone at all. Maybe at night for my alarm, but I just was in the moment while doing everything. If someone needed to like get a hold of me, they had to find me or like send a messenger to come and find me. And I think that was really nice. It was really nice to fully disconnect in that way where there's nothing like vibrating in your pocket. And like even though when I did get my phone back, it's like I got 20 notifications and text messages and WhatsApp messages, and it's like, well, these are kind of irrelevant because
mhm.
they were needing me like 3 hours ago, and I'm just seeing it now, and it turned out fine. So I think it's like being disconnected from the phone and just like the and being really in the moment was it was very rewarding.
Do you ever experience phantom vibrations in your pocket when you
Oh,
don't
all
have your
the time,
phone?
all
Okay.
the
Just wanted
time.
to make sure I wasn't the only one here.
No, it's
Um,
ridiculous. It's like I know my phone's not there. Why does it feel like I'm vibrating? And like it's almost just like I feel like we've trained ourselves to expect that to be happening. And so even on that front, I got rid of a majority of my push notifications on my phone,
mhm.
and that way, like I was noticing every time I got a notification from like Instagram or LinkedIn or something, I would automatically kind of drop whatever I was doing to check the notification because I was just like almost like hooked. But as soon as I got rid of the push notifications, it was almost like I was intentionally now going to these uh, apps when I chose to go to these apps to go and check on what's going on. And like shifting it that way, it made me feel like I was in more control versus like the apps being in more control
Mm.
of what I'm doing with my time and how I'm interacting with my device that's supposed to be a tool for me, but oftentimes I felt like a prisoner to a certain degree. That might be a little extreme, but like felt like it was controlling my life instead of me using it to like improve and using it as a tool rather than a distraction. And that's like huge.
Yeah, it's funny to me because like, what we've basically done with work over the last pretty much since right around 2019, 2020 is we've like gamified work to become this source of gratitude, honestly, in your life where you're getting the notifications on Slack and you feel the need and or urge to always be responding. And this virtual work life that we've created over the last 4 years has really turned into this feeling of never being away,
Yeah.
where as soon as you wake up, you're getting notifications. Even if you're not checking them, you're already seeing the notifications come in. And in your head, you're already preparing, oh, I already have 5 things I got to check today. Or you read the message that comes through, like, okay, well, I'm not going to respond to that yet because it's 7 a.m. At 9 a.m., it's going to be the first thing I do. And you're already thinking about it. Then what happens is as work is over, you're getting those notifications. You're already thinking about either responding that same night or waking up the next morning and responding to these things. And so work has really become this sort of aspect of never really turning off. And what I've found is that it's actually becoming more exhausting
Yeah.
the more and more that you have these things at your access. I mean, even for me, I'm going into my out of office that, I'm taking. I had a wedding in California, and from there, we're flying to Cabo. The day before I leave for this trip, I'm packing and I'm getting ready. Guess what I tried to do? I tried to bring my laptop with me just in case. The just in case
Just
laptop.
in case laptop. Oh man.
That's bad, right? That's
Bad.
bad. And
No,
I
no.
was like, and I was going into the trip being like, this needs to be a relaxing time away from work, away from doing things. And I tried to bring the laptop. Thankfully, I had like a moment of clarity the night before as I'm thinking about bringing the laptop. I'm like, that sounds crazy. Why would I bring the just in case laptop? It sounds like I'm probably just going to get on the laptop. So, step one, left the laptop behind.
Yeah.
Now I have my phone, my iPad. Guess what? They do pretty much everything that my laptop does. So, like even though you try to disconnect, you're still super connected, right? And I've heard of people deleting the apps, especially as they go on vacation. I think that's a good idea. I just tried to like mute the notifications and really limit myself from even accessing or reading those kinds of notifications as they were coming up from work, not checking the email, to really get that time away from work to reset. But for us, I find that it's very hard. Even as you go on vacation, it takes a few days for you to even settle into vacation
Yeah.
because you're still thinking about work, you're still reading the messages, you're still connected, you're still plugged in. So going into my vacation, I came up with the idea I'm going to take my phone, I'm going to lock it in the lockbox for a day, and I'm going to see how it feels. All right,
How was it?
we get to Cabo on Sunday. Monday rolls around, the excuse train. I need it for something today. Tuesday rolls around. Okay, yeah, I'm on my. I want pictures.
Pictures, yeah.
Wednesday rolls around, still on it. Thursday rolls around, and my wife is like, "Hey, we're going somewhere. You definitely don't need your phone today. You said you wanted to lock it behind. Why don't you go ahead and lock it?" But okay, fine. I tried to create the excuse. I caught myself doing it, and I figured, like, let's lock it away. Put it in the safety deposit box. We go out, we spend the whole day. I'm not with my phone. Do the same on that Friday. I end up leaving on Saturday, and I'm like, man, I wish I had just put my phone away every day that I was there because it allowed me to be present and allowed me
Yeah.
to sort of reset my energy in a whole new way that I wouldn't have been able to do if I was still plugged in. Even prior to the trip, I was thinking about listening to an audiobook, bringing a business book with me. And I think those things are great, but unfortunately, you also need time to just reset your batteries. And going into the trip, had I listened to the audiobook or I tried to read, I wouldn't have gotten as much out of it as I would just waiting till the trip's over, being reset, re energized to do those kinds of things. That was something that my life coach really helped me navigate through a little bit as I was going into vacation. Cause I was like, oh, I got this like cool business book and I want to do some research. Like, what are you doing? Like, take
Yeah.
some time for yourself. And what I found was just by taking a week, I'm back, I'm re energized, I'm reinvigorated in a whole new way. And being disconnected from the phone for 2 days was amazing. Yet still, I'm back and now I'm on it, numerous hours every single day. So maybe there's a way to disconnect while you're at home still, but I haven't found it. But either way, I am feeling good about, being out of office and taking the time to just kind of regroup and get re energized towards the end of the year here.
Yeah, I think something that you said that sticks out to me a lot is, and I find myself struggling with this too, is doing nothing is actually like good. For whatever reason, I feel like I always need to be doing something like productive or like something. Like I can't just sit and do nothing because it feels like I'm wasting time. And I think that's like a weird equal sign that I've made in my mind that like over the years as I'm getting older, I like understand that doing there is like a lot of power in doing nothing. There's like a lot of power in like boredom, like allowing your mind to kind of wander without any distraction and just let it go and ponder whatever it ponders. Um, and so like I've been right there with you making excuses of what if this and this and this, and so I'm glad to hear that you were able to get 2 days of just like almost just like a digital detox because I think that allows our minds to like slow down a bit. And I don't know why we always feel the urge to always having to do something. And it definitely is. I think for me and you, like we started our like majority of our career now has been like post COVID,
Mm-hmm.
like work and home are the same physical location. And it's like still very difficult to like differentiate that and split them apart. And so our phones are our personal devices and our work devices. And like being in sales, time kills all deals. We keep preaching it. And so we're like, oh, well, if I don't respond to this right now at like 6 p.m. or like 6 a.m., like deal's going to flop. When it's like, no, this can wait till the morning. Like,
One of
like,
my favorite things I've ever heard in my entire career in sales. I had a manager at during my time at NetSuite, and they had told me there is no such thing as a software emergency. And so when you put it into that perspective, right? I mean, obviously we're always chasing numbers, we're always chasing quotas, and time does kill deals. We preach that numerous times on the podcast so far. And obviously we preach this idea that we're sales first, engineering second. We're, always competing for the go-to-market motion. But at the end of the day, if you really boil it down, there is no such thing as a software emergency. There's really no need to ever take a software call at 10 p.m. at night or 6 a.m. in the morning. Those deals honestly never close. Like that's what I found out is the ones that pretend that they're this crazy emergency. We need to meet with them early in the morning. We meet with them. Like those are the deals that you're not closing. But when you can, kind of boil it down to that and step back and say, okay, that's fine. I'm going to be gone for a few days. You're gone for a few days. You come back, you're back working your deals. And by resetting your mind, you're allowing yourself to really rest those kind of creative receptors where now you're back and somebody might bring up a challenge and you might have a workaround solution you never even thought of before because you're just seeing it differently now than you had been prior. And that's why it's important to take time off. And I'm somebody that really struggles with it. I mean, this was my first time all year I had taken any time off. Even before I took the time off, I was like telling my wife as we're like planning this trip, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do half days. I'll just do like work in the morning and then we'll enjoy the beach in the afternoon.
Oh man.
They're on Pacific time. So I was like, I'll just work like really early, like, 4 or 5 in the morning to 11 o'clock, and I'll do my half day. And then I'm like, wait a second, I haven't even taken a single day off this year. That seems crazy, right? But I think, for me, like something that I just struggle with is just like this hustle mentality where I feel like I always need to be doing something, whether it's doing stuff for work, doing stuff outside of work, right? Like we have the podcast, we're doing stuff on LinkedIn. It feels as if you never have enough time to get all of those things accomplished, right? And so then you're like, okay, my vacation, I now have, you know, 60 hours of free time. Like, let me use my free time on that. But if you use that, you're going to go to all these beautiful, amazing places, travel the world, and you'll have never really been there. You'll have just been inside working at a computer, or even if you were sitting on the beach at your computer, you're going to have been sitting there staring at your computer instead of the beautiful beach and the beautiful world. And so I don't know. It's something I struggle with. I'm not perfect at it by any means, but obviously, after taking a trip like this, I feel reinvigorated in a lot of different ways. And I really do see the importance of why it is, important to really take and build in time in your schedule and don't wait 9 months. I think that was way too long for me to wait. I think, it's good to kind of bake your out of office in throughout the year. So that way you are getting these moments of reset versus waiting 3 whole quarters and you're like, ooh, wait a second, I am on like basically E,
Yeah.
and trying to get through.
Yeah. Well, like I was actually talking to someone last week, and he's currently a college student, like finishing up his last year. And he's like, "Oh, I just want to finish early so I can start like get to work." And I was like, "There's no like rush to go start your career. Like, there's a lot of value in having life experience. And so like when you're on the beach on your laptop, you're not having any life experience. You might as well be on your laptop at home or on your laptop like anywhere else. It doesn't matter. You're still on your laptop. So being able to like disconnect that way and then really have life experiences arguably is going to make you a better seller. You're going to be able
Mhm.
to create new memories. You're going to be able to reference more stories. You go out to dinner, you can talk about your latest trip to Cabo. I go out to dinner, I can talk about my wedding and being fully submerged there. And like there is like a human aspect of just embracing and like being in the moment that I feel like nowadays, at least for what it sounds like for the two of us, we have to be like very cognizant of. All right, we got to put our phones away. We got to really just be focused here. Uh, and I think like for me, it was like a lot. I used to like be on Instagram and be on Snapchat and always want to just like record and like document everything, but that took away from just like the experience itself. And like even now, I'm trying to. Now I've flipped to the other side. I like barely do that anymore. I think I was doing that more when I was single because I was trying to like attract a mate. But now that I'm married, it's like that doesn't matter as much. But I also do like documenting. I like making content. So it's like,
Mhm.
what is that medium
What's
for?
the balance, right? What's
Yeah,
what's the balance of doing it? I mean, I always like to relate this back to like the concerts I've gone to throughout my life, and I'm somebody that loves to go see live music. And of course, I've done it. We record the show. You know how many times I've ever gone back and watched one of those videos? Zero.
yeah,
I've never once actually listened to one of those handheld videos at a concert. And now, me being tall too, I get a good angle. But I find that when you do that, you actually start to lose the presentness at the actual concert. And you're like losing out on the experience and the actual memory that you're creating because you're staring at the concert now through a new lens than just the lens that you typically would have.
yeah,
But I do think it's tough, right? Like there is this fine balance of in this digital world we live in, you want to capture the moment so that way you remember it. you're like, oh, we're on this beautiful beach. Of course, I want to capture the moment because I don't want to forget the things that we did on this trip. But at the same time, the more you do that, the more it kind of takes away from like
Yeah.
fostering these really genuine sort of moments that take place. And so I find that it's a hard balance. It's going to be even a harder balance to navigate for the next generation because quite literally, I mean, at this point, I feel as if my hand is a part of my phone and my phone is a part of my hand. And we're somebody that actually didn't grow up with cell phones. And so
Yeah.
I find that the next generation where they already have tablets in their hand from ages 3 and up, look, it's a whole new world, and I think there's new challenges that they're going to have to face from it. But how do we find that right balance where like you still have the human connection to the moments that you're in without it? And I do hope that the next generation maybe sees some of these things and says, hey, this is crazy, right? I mean, if you go to dinner, even when I'm in Mexico, right, like we're at dinner, so many times you look around at the other tables, you have people actually sitting there staring at their phones with the other person that they're at.
Yeah.
And actually, this is a gripe, personal gripe. Um, I understand why we went to digital menus for COVID. It
Oh
made
my
complete
God.
sense, and
QR
it's
code.
helpful for yeah, and it's helpful because
Horrible.
organizations do get to and restaurants get to update their menus. But I got to tell you, I think it's a horrible, horrible thing. I'm so sick of QR codes
So
at
sick of it.
restaurants because you're forced to be on your phone.
Yeah.
You want to have just genuine time with the person you're with, and you can't even get that because you have to pull out your phone and you
Exactly.
have to get up the menu. As soon as you're doing that, you're already getting notifications from work, emails, whatever it is, and you're immediately distracted. I
Yep.
would like to see that reversed. I
Yep.
don't know if I'm in the minority on this
Nope.
one, but it's something that just bothers me, and I want the regular menu back.
I mean, I understand the digital menu. Get some cheap Amazon tablets then, or like
Mm-hmm.
Samsung tablets then, if you want that digital menu. Like I've been to restaurants where they have tablets, like the cheap, not like iPads get really pricey, but you can get like cheap tablets, refurbished ones, if you want to have that digital menu. But I'm right there with you. I hate QR codes. I've gotten to the point where sometimes if they have a QR code, I will ask them for a physical menu.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, "Can I get a physical menu?" And they're like, "Well, it's old." And I was like, "I don't mind. Like, I
Yeah.
would rather have that, and you can tell me what's on the, or like if something's not on there, I'll ask you if you have XYZ if it's an old menu." Uh, yeah, I mean something that like Smeed and I decided like very very early on, and what we even do to this day is just like no food or no phones during meal times, even when we're at home. Because it used to be like I used to suffer a lot. I used to have my phone out all the time, and it was bad. Like I was worse than her, and so anytime we have dinner at home, our phones are, I couldn't even tell you where they are. They're somewhere somewhere not nearby. And like when we go out to dinner, we both are always like very conscious about our phone usage. There was a point where it was like, phone eats first, where you're snapping a photo of the meal. But as soon as that happens, you snap the photo and then it's back in the pocket or back in the
Mm-hmm.
purse or like face down on the chair, like somewhere out of sight. And sometimes I've done this with some of my friends, is if there's a group of us, we'll put all the phones in the middle, and the first person to touch their phone was going to pay for the bill.
Ooh, I like that
And
one.
so that's like a kind of a fun way, and because all of us like understand that we have this addiction to the phones and like trying to stay in the moment. And yes, Mina,
But no one wants to say anything. No one wants to say anything. Like we all know that we're like addicted
yeah,
to being quote unquote connected through our phones. And yet no one wants to like actually sit there and say, "Hey, I think this like addiction to your phone might be a real problem." And it's funny to me like hearing you say that about, you and your wife and how you used to be on your phone more than her. Same thing, right? And I find that you and I are like constantly like experiencing the same things in just two different lenses because I had to really work to getting on my phone less and less and less. And now at dinner, same thing, right? Phones are put away. We're not on the phone. But something I did notice by locking away my phone, there was a very unique moment that took place when my phone was put away.
mm-hmm.
My wife went to the bathroom. Well, when she goes to the bathroom, typically that's my like 3 minutes of like how many things can I check within those moments. So it's like she goes to the bathroom that first time. I don't have my phone. I'm like, what do I do?
Well, I
What do I
do.
look at?
Yeah,
What do I do with my hands? Like, this feels weird. What? And I'm like, that is so crazy that even in the 3 minutes that she's going to be away from the table, I feel the need that I have to be on my phone to pass 3 minutes of time. And so I'm sitting there waiting 3 minutes. She comes back and I'm like, okay, that was really weird. I probably haven't experienced that feeling in a few years because I would always take out my phone.
Yeah.
And I know 3 minutes, boom, I can check the latest score. I can check my fantasy apps. I can check Instagram. I can check email or Slack or whatever it is. And again, I think this is why it's so important to have these moments of like true out of officeness is like you have to get unconnected. If I were to redo it all, Samir, and go back on this vacation, I would tell myself put the phone away as
Yeah.
soon as I get there. Um, but look, it's a learning experience, and I'm just doing the best I can, right? And so I'm happy that I even found time to put it away. I'm happy I had a support system that said, leading up to this trip, you said you were going to do it and
Yeah.
held me accountable to doing it because
Yep.
I wouldn't have done it. I just wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I would have succumbed to the feeling of needing to be connected on the phone.
Something I encourage you to do, something that I've been doing more this year, is like that through those 3 minutes of what do I do if I don't have my phone? Like do that more. You're waiting in line for coffee. You're just waiting for something. At the DMV, I actually I had to go and get some paperwork done. You know how long the DMV takes. And so I was like, okay, let's see if I can survive this without my phone. And I left my phone in the car. And
Oh, that sounds crazy,
I
man.
went and
I don't
sat
know.
I built up to it. Yeah, I was sitting there for like 20, 30 minutes, and like you start looking around, you start looking like at all the people that are there, and you're like, oh, they have D17 and B45. Like, what do these different letters and numbers mean? Like, from when you're waiting in line. And eventually I was like, oh, those are like the different, if you're getting a car registration, you got a certain letter. If you're getting, a new address change or a license, or you're doing your driver's license test, like, depending on what you were getting at the DMV, you got a different prefix letter. And I sat there because I was like, how do I pass my time at the DMV, one of the most boring places ever? And then you start learning how to almost occupy yourself. Like when we were
Mhm.
kids, we would just be sent to go outside and like have fun without any electronics per se. Like yes, like video games started coming into our lives. Middle school, we would go sleepovers and have video games. But I still remember like going outside, like and making shit up. Like one of the things that we literally play pretend. Like that's, and we would play spies, me and my siblings, and we would like pretend we were spies, and just it was just a lawn. But we pretended there was like lasers we had to jump over and like all of that. And I feel like because we have something to pull, like a crutch to stimulate us, we like lose that like self stimulation of like occupying yourself. So even like I this might be a little like TMI, but even when I go like take a shit, I leave my phone outside the bathroom. Like, dude, do that. Like it's
Oh man, I
like
do not know how to respond to that one.
and like doing like if you start noticing in the it's almost like the like in between times is when we pull out the phone to keep like occupied. If you go next time you go wait in Starbucks lines, see how many people are on their phone. I guarantee you there'll probably be one person that's not. Like,
I mean, look, I'm like I said, I'm guilty to all of those things. I am the person on the phone in all of those situations. And again, it felt weird to be in a situation where I wasn't allowed to be on my phone because I had basically taken away that privilege from myself. But again, it felt good. And so I don't know. My whole sense of this is that I needed some out of office time, and I didn't know how badly I needed out of office time. And my learning here is like you can't wait forever to take the
yeah,
out of office. You're given days off for a reason. The reason is to actually use them, not to like save them up and be the person at the company that says, "Look at me, look at me." I only took 4 days off this year
yeah,
because I can guarantee no one really cares.
yeah. It's not a
That
badge of
again,
honor.
you're just losing the days that you're supposed to have to reset, and it kind of takes away from everything else in your actual world and your personal life. And so I don't know, I would say if I had to boil this down to like one learning lesson, it's like if you can be disconnected, try to be more disconnected,
Yep.
and like out of office actually matters. So just take the time. I don't know, do you have a lesson out of this for our listeners?
I mean, one little like soundbite that kind of came to mind. It's like you got to disconnect to reconnect, and it sounds almost like you're turning yourself on and off, right? You're like unplugging and replugging. Where if you are able to just take a step back, and it's almost like when when you don't like see someone for a while, you like miss them and you miss their presence, and then when you come back, it's like really nice to be reunited. So
Mm.
like if you are able to do that and then be like, I'm disconnecting from work for a week, and at the end of it, you're like, oh, I'm kind of like starting to miss like doing my day to day. It's almost like you're coming back re-energized and like re-excited about coming back to work, which is what out of office is supposed to be like. You're supposed to just have time for you to decompress. And I think a big thing for me that I'm taking away from this conversation is actually physically like just leave your phone at home. Like for majority of human civilization, we did not have this device that could do everything in our pocket. We've had it for what, 15 years maybe now, and for
And the rise of
centuries.
AI, man, it's only going to be able to do more, right? Like we've taken this device that at the very beginning could only make inbound, outbound calls.
Yeah,
And we decided, okay, this phone can now send inbound, outbound messages, both text and email. Then somebody came along and said, hey, let's actually build this up. Let's have it have music. Let's have it have social media. Let's have it have games, all these other things. Everything's right there. Now you can run full on applications on your phone. I mean, seriously, there is nothing your phone can't do that your laptop can't. Like your phone can do everything
everything.
in
Yeah,
the world right from
everything.
your phone. It's quite literally probably one of the most amazing pieces of technology we've ever experienced. But I think it's so amazing somebody needs to kind of come along and say, hold on, how do we actually interact with this thing where it's beneficial? Because I find that at this point, there's a cost benefit analysis to like how many hours or how much time you could spend on your phone in a day before like it starts to just go downhill.
Diminish. Yeah,
And even now, like I notice when that feeling is. It's like, oh, I'm on my phone too long. But still, I'll notice that feeling and be like, let's keep on keeping
yeah,
on. I got to check the score of this. I got to do this. And but I still think that's like an area for improvement.
yeah. 100%. It's just how sometimes part of me is like, I kind of want to go back to like a razor. Like, give me a flip phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I
just
think we
give.
will. I honestly, I think, I really do think in the next 5 to 10 years, the next generation is going to say, this is crazy how much you guys are on these phones, these little black boxes. And they're going to revert back. And in doing so, I think some of us will too and say, wait a second, I also want to just make inbound, outbound calls and send text messages. I don't
Yeah,
really want to do all the rest. And you'll have two phones. You'll have like the phone that can only do that, and then you'll have your regular phone and be like, yeah, if anyone really needs me, they'll call, text me, or email me. That's it. So I do think that's likely coming in the future because we do have to find a way of like getting rid of this constant connection to this phone that we're on. So I wouldn't be surprised, Samir, if that's in the future for us.
yeah. What we saying? Under over 5 years, flip phone makes a comeback. Maybe 10 years. I give it 10 years. The flip phone make a comeback.
Ooh, 10 years. I'm going to actually say I'll go 5 years, but I think this is what's likely going to happen. They'll invent like a really cool smartphone, flip phone, and then someone's going to like just take that and be like, yeah, I don't think so. Let's just make like a really dumbed down version.
Yeah, I mean Google
And that
has
like actually maybe I don't know. That could be like a cool company for us to start, like just dumb down phones, and that's like all it is.
one. Yeah, it's just
Um,
we bring
the
back
out of office phone,
The Nokia brick.
honestly, the out of office phone sounds kind of cool.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I don't know. Free advice for everyone. I don't know, listening.
yeah,
Any last thoughts, Samir, before we wrap it up for our listeners today? I mean, look, we're going to get back to more of the sales engineering stuff, but I think this is important for us to talk about because in sales and sales engineering specifically, the work kind of can get to this point where it's never ending.
yeah,
There's always things to do. There's always new things to learn. You always have to stay on top of technology in an evolving, changing landscape. It's very hard to find the time to actually take out of office. So we wanted to have this kind of conversation today for it to one, just be candid, but two, to help you understand that you're not alone in this. Like it's crazy how much work that anybody in sales or sales engineering might be doing. It's okay to say, you know what, I need a couple of days to just reset. get disconnected and, get really reinvigorated.
I guess closing thoughts is take that time off. Go take it. If you're thinking about it, go take it. Like there's no excuse. You have it. You've earned it. It's only going to make you like a better person, and you're going to be able to do better.
Very cool. Well, that does it for episode 8, titled "Oh" for Out of Office. Next week we'll be back for some more exciting interviews that we have planned coming down the pipeline. But thank you all for listening. Let us know if there's anything you do want us to talk about in the future. We are just a message away.
Peace.